Character Studies. The Handmaid's Tale. Part 1. The Human Architecture of the Book. Welcome, everyone. To truly understand the terror of Gilead, we must look beyond its policies and examine its human architecture. Margaret Atwood doesn't create caricatures. She crafts profoundly complex psychological portraits that show how ideology warps, traps, and breaks the individual. Today, we will conduct a deep character analysis, moving beyond simple labels of victim or villain to understand the intricate motivations and tragic contradictions of Offred, the commander, Serena Joy, and Aunt Lydia. Offred. The fragility of the self. Offred is our narrator, but her name, a possessive patronymic meaning of Fred, is our first clue that her identity is under siege. Atwood's masterstroke is the first-person narrative, which immediately establishes the core conflict, the battle between her external submission and her internal life. The performance of identity. Offred is constantly performing. She performs the role of the pious handmaid. She performs obedience for Serena Joy, and she performs a version of herself for the commander. This performance is a survival mechanism, but it raises a terrifying question. If you perform a role long enough, what happens to the self underneath? She fears this assimilation, wondering if she is a cloud congealed around a central object, that itself is no longer there. Memory as resistance and pathology. Her memories aren't just flashbacks, they are active, painful acts of preservation. She doesn't just recall her daughter, she agonizes over the precise sound of her laugh. She doesn't just remember her husband, Luke. She recalls the specific texture of his shirt. This intense sensory detail is how she anchors herself to a reality Gilead denies. But this is also a vulnerability. Her longing is so acute it borders on the hallucinatory, making her present reality feel fragile. Her narrative is not linear because her psyche is not stable. It is a fragmented trauma response. Commodification and agency. Her body is no longer her own. It is a national resource. The central monthly ceremony is a state-sanctioned rape designed to be emotionally nullifying. In this context, her small acts of rebellion, the stolen butter for lotion, the secret Scrabble games, are not trivial. They are profound reclamations of agency. They are her way of whispering, "I am still here, under this costume." Commander Fred Waterford. The ideologue as tragic hypocrite. The commander is far more complex than a simple villain. He is a high-ranking ideologue who is profoundly bored and lonely, trapped by the very system he helped build. The failure of ideology. He helped architect a world based on a simplistic, puritanical fantasy. But he discovers too late that this world is emotionally sterile. He seeks out Offred not primarily for sex, but for intellectual companionship, for Scrabble, for old-fashioned magazines, for conversation. These are the very things his regime eradicated. He is a devastating portrait of a man who got what he wanted and found it hollow. His rebellion is not against Gilead, but against the emotional poverty it imposes, even on its architects. Power and pathos. He holds absolute power over Offred, yet he is pathetic. His attempts at connection are clumsy and self-serving. He takes her to Jezebel's, a secret brothel, exposing the regime's foundational hypocrisy. He represents the ultimate banality of evil, not a cackling monster, but a dull, aging man who wanted order and found himself suffocated by it. He is a warning that those who seek to simplify human complexity often cannot bear the resulting emptiness. Serena Joy, the architect in the cage. Serena Joy is one of Atwood's most brilliant and tragic creations. She is a classic example of the patriarchy's willing handmaiden who becomes its victim. The unraveling of an ideologue. In the past, she was a public speaker who advocated for a return to traditional values. She co-authored the ideology that now confines her. But Gilead's values are applied with a brutal literalism she didn't anticipate. She is now confined to her home, forbidden from reading, writing, or having any intellectual pursuit. She is reduced to her fertility, or rather her lack thereof. Her brilliant mind is now consumed by knitting and gardening, a cruel irony for a woman who argued women belonged in the home. The psychology of bitterness. Her cruelty towards Offred is born of this bitter, twisted jealousy. Offred has the fertility Serena craves and the fleeting attention of her husband. Serena is forced to orchestrate her own humiliation, the ceremony, in the desperate hope of a child. She is a chilling study of how internalized misogyny turns in on itself, creating a woman who will tear another woman apart to gain a sliver of status within the system that oppresses them both. Aunt Lydia, the theology of terror. Finally, we have Aunt Lydia, the most terrifying figure because she is not a hypocrite. She is a true believer. Her role is not just to police the handmaids, but to make them police themselves. Her famous aphorism, "There is more than one kind of freedom. Freedom to and freedom from. In the days of anarchy, it was freedom to. Now you are being given freedom from," is a masterpiece of ideological manipulation. She reframes totalitarian control as a benevolent protection. She doesn't just enforce rules, she builds a theological framework to justify them. Sadism as pedagogy. Her cruelty is systematic. She uses fear, violence, and even occasional kindness, a sudden compliment, to keep the handmaids psychologically off balance. This carrot-and-stick approach is designed to break their solidarity and ensure their compliance is driven by internal fear, not just external force. She represents the idea that the most effective prison is the one built in the mind. She is the voice of Gilead that the handmaids carry in their heads, even when she is not in the room. Conclusion. The universal lesson. What Atwood achieves with these characters is a universal lesson about power and the human spirit. Gilead is not populated by aliens. It is populated by people like us, people who make choices out of fear, idealism, ambition, or a desire for safety. These characters show us that the line between victim and collaborator is often blurry, and that the greatest battles are fought not in the streets, but within the confines of our minds. They remain enduringly relevant because they hold up a dark mirror to our capacities for compliance, rebellion, and self-deception. Thank you for joining this deep dive. Who do you believe is the most tragically complex character in the novel? Share your insights in the comments below. If you found this analysis valuable, please like and subscribe for more content that explores the depth of literature.